Hey, what's up, Aries? Welcome, 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 welcome. This is your check in reading for the month of November. This is for Aries Collective. This is for your moon placement, your rising placement, your sun placements, or wherever you may have a lot of strong representations in Aries. Could be also particular houses or particular planetary influences. You can tune in for that. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching. And if you would like to subscribe, please do that. It's more than appreciated and it's welcome. Feel free to leave a comment or a like as well. So, yeah, let's get right into it, Aries, for the month of November. Let's see what you are dealing with, what Spirit has to say for you. Um, This is something you can look at as entertainment, or you could look at it as guidance, a form of maybe a form of spiritual guidance, a form of life guidance, or just companionship. Just if you find that this is just something that it helps you, just it calms you down, just listening. That for that purpose, that's also totally fine. You know. You will know what sits right with you. So I think I'm gonna start with yeah, and also for others of you, maybe if you kind of a little bit skeptical or not a believer, whatever, like you could also just look at it as a form of storytelling. So I'm just gonna pull out one of these and kind of see, just to break the ice, so to speak. Okay. All right. All right, so we have the moon and the stars here. Got the bird, a bag, laptop bag, some tears, um, an angry face, a bicycle. Right. Okay, so we're gonna start here. So, yeah, so I think that also for you, Aries, you could be, I think they probably want to emphasize this the most. Let me see. Yeah, I feel like maybe with a cycle here, I feel that this may be something to do with certain cycles in your life. So this may be, first of all, it could be also that maybe you are looking to cycle maybe more. If you are somebody who has maybe been contemplating cycling, that could be something like as a way to commute or as a way to exercise, or like, yeah, as I was saying, to commute. So that could be something. But I feel like this is more kind of like in the back of the mind, is not really the strongest vibration that's coming with this. I want to say maybe the strongest vibration that's coming with this has to do with cycles. Life cycles, seasonal cycles, things of that nature. Um, so I think you also being a Aries, being the first house, being the first sign of the 12, I think you're somebody who is very ambitious, somebody who's very driven, and I think you're somebody who likes to kind of see things through. It's kind of like you have a project that you have to work on or something, and you kind of want to see that um, complete, right? So so I feel like it's something like completing cycles, or finishing off a cycle in order to start off another cycle, right? And I feel like this is something that also maybe helps you, like with your it is a form of a structure. It is like a form of structure for you. It's like you need certain things that you're working on, and kind of like finish those things that you start, and then kind of like start the next thing, or like sort of like cycle into the next thing, or phase out into the next thing. This could be something that could be is being emphasized the most. The other thing also is that Aries energy can be a little bit stagnant. So you guys are great, for example, at initiating things or beginning things. You may have an amazing idea, then you kind of start it off, but then you don't really finish it off, because Aries, you guys are more of like a cardinal sign. So along with the other cardinal signs, you guys are strongest at initiating things. Also, this could be like an entrepreneurial spirit where you could be having a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you kind of, want to do because you are ruled by the fire. So you always have like constantly always ideas coming up, always a lot of high energy, and a lot of aggression or like a lot of aggressive energy, which I feel like this is not an issue. I feel like it's something that you've mastered, that you know how to sort of direct that energy maybe into your work or into your projects. So I feel like that's not really the issue here. But what I am being told to emphasize with you is that you may have issues like closing out cycles, right? Because you could have so many great ideas, so many things that you want to do, and you could have like a multitasking, board where you have all these things that you've written down. You could be very great, for example, at mind mapping, or was it mind mapping, like when you just write down a bunch of different ideas that you're trying to sort of like connect them together and see where one ends and leads into another. So you could be somebody like that, very high energy, very type A personality. And so sometimes the issue with that is that you could have so many things going on that you don't cycle things out, right? So you start something, you do it, you get it up to 50% or 60%, and then you don't really see it through, right? So you're being encouraged to maybe focus on one thing at a time, or focus on two or three things at a time, and sort of see those things through, or cycle those things out for the month of November moving forward, especially into 2026. Um, for others of you, if you are somebody who is, for example, let's say a manager, a project manager, a CAO, is also something I'm picking up, especially a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and you have the resources. You also want to delegate. Delegate some of the things that you feel like you have a lot of on your plates, that you feel you're not able to kind of do all of those things, right? So there's a very strong emphasis on finishing cycles, starting cycles. For those of you who are investors, this also could be something important in sort of like really studying the market very well, sort of knowing when to close certain deals, when it is the best time to invest. And so this also could um, be making mention of the different cycles of the year, how you have the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, fourth quarter. So for those of you who are investors, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, um, you could also be at a time where you're kind of reassessing the third or the final quarter of the year, and sort of kind of seeing how has those investments played out, and where would be the best which things to sort of cycle out or phase out before the first quarter of 2026. All right, so this also could be something that's important for investors. um, and yeah, I feel like it could be lots of meetings, lots of networking going on about this as well, as far as that entrepreneurial thing is concerned. Funny enough, I just realized looking at the top of this deck, we've got Aries rising here. So also like you could be a double Aries. You could be like Aries sun and then also like an Aries rising as well. All right. Yeah, so basically, emphasis really is just about really just finishing things, closing cycles is really what they want to emphasize for a particular Aries or set of Aries group of people. Very business oriented, very entrepreneurial kind of spirit. There also could be maybe one or two of you who could be dealing with a grief or grieved of a loved one or like a loss of a loved one, for example. And this also could be something that you haven't really quite dealt with. It could be maybe a passing of a mother or father, or like a mother figure also, or a father figure. And for some of you also, like, that's a cycle that you're being asked to work through or to cycle that out as well. So it's about, if you've maybe been having difficulties processing a loss, maybe a loss of a loved one, help close that cycle or to help manage those strong emotions, may be something as like maybe going to therapy, maybe talking about it, maybe really revisiting some of those heavier emotions that you may be afraid to maybe confront, and so that you avoid them by kind of keeping yourself busy. Yeah. For others of you, also flights might be important. Some of you guys probably travel a lot, especially with the entrepreneurial energy. This could be also something where there's a lot of traveling involved in your life. Yeah, I think, but that's really all I'm getting. I think the strongest sleep also could be very important. For some of you guys, could have so much energy that, like, sleep and rest is something that you don't get enough of. So also there could be like an emphasis for the month of November to also kind of meditate a little bit more, or calm your energy a little bit more, or sort of, as they were saying, sort of delegate if you have a lot of work, so that you also have time to recuperate and also to sort of like to rest. All right. So we'll see. Maybe they'll bring back certain messages later on that clarify some of the stuff that they brought up over there. Where should I go? I feel like they're pulling me here. So let's see what's coming in for Aries Collective for November 2025. Clear messages for Aries Collective 2025. Yes, we have got the Ace of Cups here reversed. This is kind of also representative, again, as they were saying, like new beginnings. But this also could be new beginnings in terms of like an emotional output, right? So if you are not getting enough rest, or you're not dealing with certain heavy emotional things, like that also maybe blocks out, other forms of other things as well, and this also could be like, for example, your creativity. Yeah, there's an emphasis of like, if you don't close certain cycles, or you don't see certain things through, like, because always the Ace of Cups represents like new beginnings. It could also be especially in the case of a cups, it's like new beginnings or blessings that come from God, or blessings that come from the universe, in terms of especially creativity, right? And it coming reverse also could mean that sometimes, you're a person, as you were saying, full of ideas, but like if you are not finishing things through, then some of those ideas, they like really they go to waste, right? Basically, so it's almost like a wasted Ace of Cups, as they were saying, right? Like God gives you so many ideas, or you're blessed with an amazing mind and you're able to resolve so many things, but like if you don't finish those things through, or you don't put those things to use, then it's kind of like a waste of what God is blessing you with, or what the universe is blessing you with, right? Which could be, for example, creativity, emotional intelligence, all of that stuff, right? So again, they're saying it's important for you to sort of like cycle things out and kind of like sort of like finish things through. Yeah, you see, so you're somebody who has a lot of cups, you're somebody who has a lot of ideas, you have a lot of things going on, um, all the time, that like sometimes you pour too much, like it's like you have all of the cups that, for example, you pour a little bit into this and a little bit into that and a little bit into that, and then it's not like, and it's like you kind of almost want to say as they were saying, like you could be somebody who you spread yourself sometimes maybe too thin by doing too much, or like trying to be in multiple places at one, or trying to do just too many things, that sometimes some of the cups are left, half empty, half full, because it's like maybe something is not seen through till the end, right? Because you've got a lot of things. And also, this is why they were saying that it's important for you, like if you have a lot of cups, or this also could be, for example, if you're a business person, you have like a lot of responsibilities. For those of you who are connecting with the entrepreneurial spirit, that like you could have so many ideas or so many projects, that God has blessed you with, or that God wants to give you with, but because you're not finishing things through, or you're not seeing things through, some of those things could go to waste, or they, could be wasted potentials or wasted ideas, which is the reason also why they were emphasizing that it's important for you, if you are like a CEO or a project manager or a business person, to multitask, or to not to multitask, which that is what you do, but to delegate, sorry, to delegate some of those responsibilities if you feel like you will not be able to see them through, right? Because I feel like sometimes you spread yourself too thin because you have a lot of things that you are responsible for, right? But also notice that we're dealing with cups here, and they were talking here about wasted tears, right? Wasted waters, wasted tears. So also for some of you, you know, kind of pouring yourself into some of all of these passions could also be a way where some of you avoid dealing with certain emotional things, right? So it's kind of like you kind of avoid that by kind of keeping yourself busy. So again, emphasis is on like finishing those cycles. And if you're not able to finish some of those things, the emphasis is sort of on getting yourself help, like delegating some of the tasks or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, same thing. I think there's an emphasis for you to slow down. Knight of Cups, there's something incoming. Um, this also could be for others of you, it could be love, but I think it's coming reversed, which means that things may be kind of slowing down for some of you, or you could be asked to maybe kind of like slow down. It's like, as I was speaking up, you could be somebody who's very fast paced and kind of who moves or travels a lot from places to places, as they were saying, flying from places to places, especially if you're somebody who you carry, or you're the bearer of something, right? So it's almost as if like the cups that God gives you, you sort of carry that and you gift it to the world. And so, what this means in a practical sense, it could also mean that, like, maybe you are a public speaker, maybe you are an entrepreneur who your gift or your calling involves maybe speaking or teaching business or teaching marketing or teaching sales. And so it's like, you may get these intuitive ideas and hits, and then you sort of, God gives them to you, and then you give them to the world. So it's almost as if like God uses you, or the universe uses you to, and so maybe your gift may be the gift of communication or the gift of gap, right? And so it's like, or you resolve conflict, conflict resolutionist. You could be very good at that as well. Like you could have multiple business where people maybe call on you to come and give tips on how to run a business very well, or how to kind of make a business successful, or so it's kind of like you're always somebody who's called to the rescue of something. I feel like you may have a lot of things, or you are invested in a lot of places, that sometimes that can also slow down your forward movement, right? So that's also why they were emphasizing sort of getting rest, and kind of tempering yourself a little bit. Yeah, and then here we've got the nine. Got the 9 of Wands. Yeah, nine of wands. I mean, these are just confirming really the same things. Could be confirming the same things that you just have a lot going on. For others of you, so you could have a lot going on, so much so that maybe you may be neglecting your lover or your partner, you don't spend enough time with your lover, or your partner may feel that you guys don't spend a lot of significant quality time together because they see you as somebody who's very busy. Yeah. So definitely emphasis on kind of just cycling things out, closing things out. Um, it's sort of like what I'm getting here. They kind of want me to go here now. So these are mostly image cards. And so sometimes what they do is they may use images to help bring home some of the messages that they were trying to convey or emphasize some of the messages that they were trying to convey. Or sometimes it could also just be the emergence of something new. Aries Collective. Yes, right. So again, as we're saying, somebody you travel a lot, you commute a lot, you feel like you're somebody who's always busy, you're always on the go. Um, and I think you may have a job where you're required to travel all the time, you know. So you somebody who you journey a lot, you fly a lot, you travel a lot, you know, for different projects that you know find yourself having to do. Also notice here the suitcases, right? I was gonna say those bags of suitcases, which we also did have that over here, right? So this is also something, and again, obviously, also look at this, the wheels of the bike, and also the the train wheels as well. That motion, that cycling motion, that thing, kind of seeing things through, kind of getting things going all the time. So again, this is just double confirmation for some of you for those things that they're trying to kind of like emphasize to you more. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do one more for Aries, November 2025. Yeah, wealth. Definitely do see that finances is not really an issue. Like wealth is not, it's not really an issue. But again, also this is double confirmation. Again, also if you pay very close attention, you'll notice that we have. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Do you see the emphasis again on cycles, finishing things off, facing things off, right? You see that? Also, this for me just confirms that for some of you, really, you could be businessmen, businesswomen. So you could be CEOs of companies, right? You could be this person who people look to. You like, you go around and you do your businesses. So definitely picking up a very entrepreneurial energy, a very entrepreneurial spirit, man or woman, and just the emphasis of wealth here also is the testament of the thing that we're talking about. That for some of you, you could be like really wealthy people who your wealth also kind of works for you. So that's the thing that we're saying about like investments, kind of knowing where to invest your money, which projects to invest your money in. So for some of you also, you could be investors in the locomotive industry. So let's say, for example, like you could be somebody who you invest in aviation. You invest in aviation, you have some stocks in aviation, or you may have some stocks in the locomotive industry. So like the train industry, right? So you may have some stocks there, or some of you kind of invest in that as well. And with the wheels here just coming back again, being re-emphasized, It's just about kind of like really knowing the cycles. Again, the thing that we're talking about with the quarters, you know, how you have the first quarter, second quarter, and like people who invest are kind of always looking at that. Like, how did the company do in the first quarter? Like, what are the projections for the first quarter of 2026? And, you know, what are the plans? Where are we going to be investing? You know, so this is what's indicated here by wealth, is kind of like also wealth management in that sense. There is a much further away vibration of also passing generational wealth, like in terms of like if there are some of you who are millionaires maybe, or yeah, because I'm really picking up like big money people here, like really big money people. So for others of you, also some of you could be thinking and planning and writing down wills, writing down wills on paper, like as in like an inheritance will, right? Like for example, if you've got children, like how the wealth is going to pass to your children, for example, or to your wife or your husband or your, you know, respective partners. There's also something like that here as well, and especially number 10 too, because number 10 is the 10th house of Capricorn. It represents your midheaven. It represents your midheaven. It represents your legacy, right? So that also could be something that some of you think about, because I'm picking up just an energy of very busy men or busy women, like this very strong, high energy of rich, bougie people. Yeah. Some of you also worry about your wealth. You know, like there are some wealthy people who have a fear of, like fear of loss of wealth, for example. So like you could be somebody who's always guarded, as in like, you know, like in terms of your wealth, you know, like your wealth. Also for some of you, your wealth could be a little bit self-consuming. You know, like, you know, because you know in life you have your poor people, you know, and they have concerns about where they're going to get their next meal, or how they're going to pay for their next bill, how they're going to pay for rent, this type of things, you know. And then wealthy people, they don't have those kind of worries, but they constantly worry about their money, you know, like where is it going to go, how are they going to spend it, are people coming into their lives because of their wealth, is this person a true genuine love interest, or are they loving me or loving you because of your wealth and what you could do for them. So for some of you, this definitely presents it's a whole. I'm tapping into an energy of just like big ballers, like big and high energy wealthy people. So it's like these are the kind of problems you have, like the genuineness of people coming into your life. Like, are they really coming for who you are as a person, or are they like coming into your life because of your you know, your perceived wealth, or your wealth, or you know, something like that. So there also could be something where this presents a lot of challenge for some of you in terms of finding love, or you know, you know, mating with partners, for those of you who are into that, like who are oriented, like, you know, maybe you want to find a suitable wife, or if you're a wealthy woman, a suitable husband to mate with, and kind of, you know, have children who will inherit the, like the wealth of the company, or the wealth of the, you know, you, whatever you guys have. But finding those people sometimes also can be a, you know, a big challenge. And some of you, of course, also you get judged a lot, maybe because of the way you carry yourself, or you know, because you know, also, you know, there's, you know, wealthy people envy, you know, from people who are maybe not as wealthy, but they're doing well for themselves, right? So it's kind of like, you know, you may have friends who they're doing well for themselves, but they're not at the same level of wealth that you are at, right? Let's say you're a millionaire, um, and you do well for yourself, but then you have your circle of friends could be like people who are, maybe like a medical doctor or like a lawyer, and they're not necessarily like a millionaire. They could be a couple of thousandaires, maybe they could bring in, you know, 300,000 or 400,000 a year, which is, it's not like $1 million, but it's like still a lot of money, right? And so there could also be envy between those two tiers of super wealthy and kind of wealthy, you know? So there also could be like a bit of drama that kind of circulates in your world. Like, rich people drama, like, oh, did you hear like the neighbors, they bought a new Tesla or they bought a new Lexus, or oh my God, they think they're better than us, or like this kind of very petty, wealthy people kind of like problems. So some of you could have like a life like that, and so maybe you may feel sometimes that you have to maybe downplay your wealth or hide your wealth or live a more humble life, kind of picking up someone like that. But it doesn't matter, because I feel like also you could be someone who's well known. So even if you maybe try to live a humble life, your people may still have a specific perception of you, um, just because you may be known in those circles. Like, because I'm just picking up heavy business men, women kind of thing here. So like all of the drama and all of the stuff that happens in that hierarchy of life, poor people, we have similar things too, like, but like at our level, it's kind of like, it's different, like, yeah, it's like levels to this. So it's like, every level has similar patterns of things, but it's just, it's like rich people, middle class people, poor people, and, poor people also could be hating on each other. And like, so it's kind of like same thing, but more like rich people stuff here. Anyway, I don't know why they kind of detoured that way, but maybe someone needed to hear that. Like maybe it just comforts you, or just maybe God understands you. Maybe you pray and you ask yourself, oh, why did you give me this wealth? Or like, so, like, I don't know, something like that. Also, like for some of you, you could also have the wealth, you may have inherited the wealth also. Like it could in itself also be that you were set up kind of well, because you may have come from money, right? And so it's kind of like that's the life that maybe that like, like for example, if you have kids, right? You're a millionaire, you've got kids, right? Your kids obviously are going to live a very specific lifestyle, probably a very protected lifestyle, again, because you also want to protect them for the same reasons that they were saying, right? And so maybe they go to specific schools, they have specific hobbies, specific interests, so it's like they live a very privileged life, right? Um, and so when they grow up and it's their time to have businesses or to contribute or whatever, they probably will never know what is poverty, right? Like, and that's no fault of their own, like, because that's, the privilege, they were born into that, right? So I feel like you yourself also could be a parent who comes from a line of wealth. So it's kind of like that's the life that you kind of know, right? Like, if that makes sense. So all of this energy is coming with this wealthy man card. That's kind of spirit was really honing on that. So maybe there could also be something very important in the details of the stuff that they're bringing forward with regard to that. The way you dress also is very immaculate, man or woman. I think you dress well, you groom yourself well, you look well, you could be very handsome, or if you're a woman, you could be a very beautiful woman, right? So that in itself also could be a source of jealousy, or like a source of like envy. You could also just be genetically, just like physically beautiful or handsome or whatever, right? Yeah. Oh, what a detour. Let's see, like, if we can bring it back. Okay, let's round this off for the Aries collective. Yeah, so it's just confirmation again that privilege, like you could be a very privileged man or like a very privileged lady, or you have kids who are born like out of privilege, and you just have a very specific life that you live of, like, you know, as I was saying, with this very bourgeoisie lifestyle, like just wealthy people. I'm just tapping into an energy of wealth here. This is like very wealthy people, like that most people probably will never have access to them. So this is just about, it's really honing in on that. And the reason why they're bringing forward that message, I don't know. Maybe it's just like, also for some of you, it could also be a thing of like stress, like your own mental health, your own mental wealth, because you maybe feeling like within your circle of friends that you don't have the support, right? Like, let's say, for example, if you're like a very wealthy person, like a wealthy man or woman, you may have certain issues that, like, you want to address these issues, but you can't really talk to your friends because they envy you a little bit, right? Because you are doing maybe slightly better. As they were saying, like, you could be a multimillionaire and the other person could be like a couple of thousandaires, right? So he's like, you go to them and they're like, oh, you just bought a Tesla last week, or what are you talking about? Or like, so it's kind of also, you may feel that your privilege or your wealth masks your cry for help whenever it is that you feel like you need help, because people think that you have the money, you should be happy, you're doing so much better than most people. What are you complaining about, right? But everyone's mental health is important regardless of wealth or not, right? So I feel like you could be somebody who your wealth has kind of trapped you a little bit. You may be feeling like your wealth kind of cages you in. And I think this also could be an issue that just generally most wealthy people have, because on the one hand, you kind of want the support, you kind of want the help, but on the other hand, you're also trying to protect yourself to make sure that you're not taken advantage of, right? So maybe this is, you guys probably, I don't know if wealthy people watch tarot or whatever, but this maybe could be also God's way of saying it's like an answered prayer, like keep praying or keep doing your meditation or keep, like God is gonna find ways to console you, to comfort you, to bring peace to you, to bring clarity to you, to, like, you are not alone, because you also may feel like, I have no right to pray, I have no right to speak to God because I have all this privilege. What am I complaining about, right? But it's, yeah. But it's just kind of almost like, just remember your maker, remember God. Like now it's like, I'm hearing the story of King David, like how, King David had all this wealth and he was kind of like anointed and appointed by God to be the leader of, the time at that time. And he had all this prestige and all this wealth and access to all sorts of manner of things, back in the time. But he also was a man who was very troubled and had issues with both pride and ego, and at the same time also feeling a sense of godliness within himself and stuff like that. Because the wealth, as they're saying, like, can be so isolating, or it can be so like self-caging, right? But I think, like, this is like also God's way of saying, humble yourself before God, or give thanks to God, or that, like, if you pray, God hears your prayers. Yeah. Fathers, if you also travel may be good, just like traveling to other destinations where you're not known, as a way to kind of escape the world you live in, or the world where you're kind of known in or function in. Like, you take a trip to some island or whatever, which you probably do, by the way, anyways. But you could maybe do a little bit more of that, I suppose. I don't know. As soon as you close, certain cycles or whatever. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Like, I don't really see that they would be. They want me to do one more though, but okay. Let's see what they want to say. Because this is already so long. Yeah, but I feel like you have a very beautiful home. You have a very beautiful home. It smells good. Yeah, I just kind of smell like just a very good, very beautiful, clean home, like mansion, like just, yeah, somehow they're bringing that forward. Your home could also be like your sanctuary. Yeah. Yeah, for some of you, you may look at that bottom of the deck. We've got pathway. Yeah, for some of you, definitely you may kind of desire change. Some of you may desire change. Some of you may want to move. Look at the emphasis. Just look at the emphasis on travel. Look at all those wills constantly re-emphasizing themselves. So the movement of things, the closing out of things, the cycling out of things. And again, also for others, if you're just traveling, kind of finding a pathway, you've kind of like, if you feel like where you are, maybe you may be feeling like a little bit locked in or caged in. So like definitely emphasis on just like travel and explore. Number 9 is the house of Jupiter. That's expansion, that's growth. By the way, Jupiter is also luck and fortune. So some of you just very lucky, just very blessed again, as they were saying, like you could just have been born into wealth, into privilege, right? So that's the life that you know. So it's not really no fault of your own. Um, but yeah, again, look at the suitcases. Kind of just everything kind of being re-emphasized again here. So yeah, just emphasis on that, like closing cycles. If you need to change certain things, change those things. Earlier they were talking about if you need to delegate, if you need to, get help, like kind of make those changes and, do not fear the changes, right? And maybe some of you bought the Tesla, maybe some of you bought the car last week, or, planning to buy a new Tesla, or a new Lexus, or whatever the case may be. Also, so a new car could be something that's in the cards here for you, for those of you who drive or are into that, right? And yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think we're done. For November at least. Closing card for Aries. By the way, I just love doing this. This is also my way of kind of giving back to community, my way of giving back to society. Because I don't have this kind of wealth. Like, I can't donate to charity, at least not yet. But so this is my way of also just paying homage. Closing messages for Aries. Clear messages for Aries. Okay. Conjunction. Conjunction is good. So at the top of the deck here, we have conjunction. Conjunction is just things aligning. Things aligning for you. This is a strong vibrational energy. Look at that, Jupiter. See, we're talking about this. Your luck, right? So it's like conjunction Jupiter is kind of like somebody who's very blessed. Things work out for you, things align for you. But I feel like you gotta always also know when to time yourself and when to know when to pull back when things are a little bit too much. I think you will thrive, for as long as you continue to embrace the Aquarian vibration. And the Aquarian vibration is one of society, one of people, one of power to the people. We are also in the age of Aquarius now, too, so also power to the people. Um, so I think you thrive in helping people. I think that's also the thing where God was talking about, like you receive the cups and then you kind of you are the bearer of the messages, right? Like like I do what I do now. That's my calling, right? But then you could be like your thing. You could be maybe you teach marketing or you teach business entrepreneurs how to succeed, or like there's a way that you kind of your contribution to society is what has brought or continues to bring you your wealth, because Aquarian energy is about community, is about people, is about society, right? So I feel like this is kind of where your strength lies. And this is one way to look at it. Also, another way is like Aquarian energy is also one of his former ruler is Saturn, but his current ruler is like Pluto. So this is also an energy of change, not being afraid of change, kind of being innovative, kind of not being afraid to take a chance and do something different if you kind of feel a certain way with regard to where you are in life at the moment, whether emotionally or business wise, or like whether emotionally, physically, or mental health wise, right? So this is about also expanding your mind in an innovative, inventive kind of way, to make the necessary changes if this is something that you feel you're being called to do within the month of November moving forward. And again, also for those of you who are investors or entrepreneurs or business people, this also could be a way of, if you're going to go into the first quarter of 2026, what are the new innovations? What are the new ideas? What are the fresh perspectives? What are um, yeah, how do we grow? How do we grow? How do we expand? How do we bring about a change? Like for those of you, they were emphasizing a small percentage of you who maybe you invest in the car industry or you invest in aviation or the locomotive industry, and you're kind of going through your seasons and kind of seeing how the business has been doing. This is also like a challenge of what new things can we do, how can we develop or expand the wealth more, this type of like strategy basically. All right. Yeah. Aries, I think this is it. This is almost an hour long. So I'm gonna tap out of this, and also focus on some of the other signs. Um, and yeah, let me know if this was, helpful, fun, whatever. If, yeah, just hit me up, like a comment or a like or whatever if you feel like this was helpful. So I wish you all the best, for the month of November. And I'll see you guys in you guys' next catch up. All right, take care.